Hello, anyone who's watching this. It's been a long time since I've done these sort of videos. Anyone who's watching this probably doesn't even know what I'm talking about. They didn't get big or anything. It was just a thing I did, and it is still a thing I am just doing. It's me recapping everything I watched this month. A few things have changed since the last time I'd done this, which was about a year ago. Last time I did this, I used to also talk about the shows I was currently watching and stuff. But I'm going to change this now to just things I've finished in this month. So I'm watching Ozark right now, but I won't talk about that because I haven't finished it yet. Probably next month I will have finished it and I'll be like, right, what did I think of Ozark overall, rather than just being like, yeah, I watched the first series of this. I'm just going to do as I finish them. The first thing I watched this month was BlackBerry by Matt Johnson with Glenn Howerton, film from this year. And yeah, I enjoyed this. I'm not really familiar with Matt Johnson, but I know he does the sort of handheld sort of aesthetic and stuff, which is what I'm thinking about doing as well with some things. It was very heavy-handed, and I feel like it worked for the most part. Maybe a few times it felt a bit like this is a bit weird. What I did find it contrast slightly at times, especially when the sort of scenes were like very. It was all quite cinematically lit and stuff. It all looked very cinematic, but then it was still sort of handheld. I think I like that actually overall. Like, it might have been a bit weird, but I think it was just something weird to get used to. That sort of aesthetic of handheld and like naturalism with glossy cinematic is quite strange. But yeah, it was cool. I thought the acting was really good. Like some of it was shabby-ish. It did feel amateurish at times, but the leads were all really good, and I really enjoyed the guy who's in something. Jay Baruchel or whatever his name is. I don't really know. I think that's his name. Yeah, him. He was good in this. I liked him more than I usually do. So overall, yeah, quite fun, funny, good performances, good story. The story overall just is interesting. Like the rise of BlackBerry, a great concept. You know what I mean? Probably ends a bit like I kind of wanted to see the fall a bit more. It kind of left with you to imagine the fall, which I think was purposeful. Sorry. But I would have probably liked to see that sort of demise a bit more, especially with some of those characters like Glenn Howerton's character being particularly angry. Would have been interesting to see him fall more. But overall, I really enjoyed it. So 8 out of 10 for that one. The Legend of 1900 by the guy who did the same guy who did Cinema Paradiso, which I liked a lot more than this. Cinema Paradiso was just excellent, sort of 10 out of 10 stuff, everything was great in that. And this, I felt like, really fell flat. You got your Cinema Paradiso, which is just such a good, heartbreaking sort of, not heartbreaking, but just a very emotional sort of human story. And this, it tried to do the same thing, but it was purposeful to an extent where it was trying to be more fable and fairy tale-like. But to me, that kind of just made me not care about the characters. The way it was done, nothing hooked me into it. I didn't quite care about anything that was happening. Stylized well, but just there wasn't that core emotion. Like, I wasn't attached to the characters. I didn't care what happened. Very boring overall, very long. I wasn't a huge fan of this, even though it did a lot right. Yeah, no hook. Nothing keeping me like, what's going to happen to Tim Roth's character here? I really care about. I didn't quite, For that reason, I'm giving it quite a generous 5, really. Because I think I wouldn't have even given it a 5 had I not seen Cinema Paradiso before. I think Cinema Paradiso sort of made me recognise some of the good stuff in this, but it was only really reminders of a better film. So yeah, it probably is worse than a 5, but I'll give it a generous 5. Then I watched a classic, Easy Riders. Easy Rider. Yeah, I'm glad to have finally seen this, especially since I love Two Lane Blacktop, which is kind of a sort of unofficial sequel. Like it's contrasting Easy Rider, and I do prefer Two Lane Blacktop. But Easy Rider was really good to see. Yeah, I think it got a lot right. It got that beautiful American cinematography, philosophies of this sort of lifestyle, the drug culture, all that represented really nicely. Jack Nicholson was excellent. I thought probably the best Jack Nicholson performance in my opinion. I really loved him in this. He's very funny, and moments in his little tangents he has about the aliens and things are really good. Yeah, it really captures a moment in time for America, I think, and it does it well. It's entertaining, structured nicely. It's paced well. Like, I think for what I wanted Easy Rider to be, it's smashed out of the park. Like, I kind of, for what I knew it was, I was like, yeah, this would probably be like a good sort of solid classic. And then I watched it, and yeah, it was that and a bit more. That's why I gave that an 8. But then I followed that with an even better film, Dangerous Liaisons, which is funny because I did watch another Stephen Frears film, My Beautiful Laundrette, which I wasn't as big a fan of. I didn't quite get into that one so much, but this is fucking sick. The characters, dynamics, the overall idea of it. A very play-like sort of feeling film. It very much is minimalist in its sort of locations and stuff. It's all very set-like. Big focus on performance, I think, which is why you've got some great, strong actors in there. I don't really know who that woman was that he was manipulating, but she was really good. The woman as well, who was the manipulative woman, she was really great. Obviously John Malkovich, Peter Capaldi turned up in there. Uma Thurman was in there. You know, just so many good actors, great performances, and that's why I think this film really excels. It's just in sort of just scenes of dialogue and character. The script is just amazing. The way that they these characters think and treat society. Some really interesting themes in there. Sort of timeless themes, but something that is really enhanced by being set in this time period and place, you know, high society. It's basically that if you know Always Sunny and you've seen the Dennis System, just picture that, but scaled up to be a sort of bit more political, bit more serious drama version of that. And it's just great, yeah, so I really recommend that. 9 out of 10 for Dangerous Liaisons. Gangs of New York, another Martin Scorsese film. Probably going to watch all of them at some point. But yeah, I like this one a lot. It was, you know, pretty standard Scorsese. You just got a really good gangster film, basically. You got Leonardo DiCaprio being great, Daniel Day-Lewis being a great villain. You know, you just got 2 strong actors battling it out. A regular good gangster film by Martin Scorsese. But then on top of that, you got the fact these sort of essentially everything that New York is now was fundamentally part of gang culture. Like the police were gangs at one point, and you know it explores it in so many great ways, especially with that ending shot. You know, I think this film is better than just a good film to me, just because it manages to do the good film stuff by having 2 great performances and a good gangster film, and Martin Scorsese doing it, and then you got another angle on there which just kind of enhances the experience and keeps it a bit more interesting. So that's why I'm giving this an 8, where it could, you know, it's a good film, but you got that other layer, so it goes from a 7 to an 8, I think. Beau is Afraid, the new Ari Aster. Gotta say, definitely the weakest Ari Aster film for me, out of the main 3 I've seen. Obviously, the Hereditary, Midsommar, Beau is Afraid is the main 3, and I've seen them. This one, to me, I just felt like needed something else to kind of, like... I do love a good artsy film without genre, you know, I like things that completely push the boundaries and stuff, but for me... With Ari Aster, it seems, maybe he can prove me wrong another time, but with this, from what I've seen based on this film as evidence, you know, Ari Aster I don't think can really do something without genre. Like the just this artsy style of filmmaking combined with this genre sort of boxing it all in, I think that really worked for him. But this just felt a bit of a mess, really. I think it did a lot right. Like there was a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of interesting ideas and themes and all that thrown around. But I just would have liked to have seen a bit of refinement, a bit of a better pace, you know, something that I can just kind of get into. Because there's these themes here that are really interesting, but because I'm not quite like at that sort of just narratively quite into it, I'm not quite getting that right attachment to the big ideas. But overall, really interesting and really good, you know, just acting and directing overall, the style. Everything it does tick a lot of great boxes, so for that reason I do give it a 7. It isn't a bad film, it just, I think, it would have excelled if it kind of just did something a bit quicker and conciser. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, I was not a big fan of that one at all. Jeez Louise, that was bloody awful. Luc Besson, not a fan of him. I didn't really care for The Fifth Element a whole lot. It was alright. I think I talked about it in one of these videos actually last year. Leon the Professional's solid, but you know, this is awful, and I think it brings out all the bad parts that I didn't quite care for in his other films, just into one expensive CGI waste of money superhero film, which just absolutely, yeah, there's not really much to say about it. There's some good effects and stuff in there, but it's not very purposefully used. It's really just a lot of money chucked at nothing. You know, overall I did quite enjoy myself, I suppose, because you know, Dane DeHaan had a really sort of strange performance. He's a bit of a strange actor, really. I think he only works in certain roles, and this wasn't one of them. So there's bizarre sort of amusing things about this, but as a whole, the film just on its own, nah, don't bother. 2 out of 10 for Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. The person who recommended me isn't going to like me saying this because he said it's one of his favourite films, so I checked it out. I was just not a fan of this, The Blind Side. It just really didn't do anything with any ideas at all. Like, to the look of the film, nothing there. It looks like a bloody fucking like medical hospital dramas from America, like those really cheap ones. It looked like Chicago Med or something. It had the budget of that. The actors were just very uninteresting to me. Sandra Bullock, yeah, like she kind of did a good job, but nothing that I would really. It wasn't a performance to marvel at. She's a good actor and she did a good performance, and that's it. There's nothing really more than that to me. It was just like, yeah, Sandra Bullock being good, cool. Is that it? And then you got that annoying fucking kid. Like, that's not, the performances aren't doing much there for me either. The music was nothing. There's just nothing about this, and there is also obviously the elephant in the room about this film with the whole white savior sort of narrative and everything. And I don't know, there's a lot of controversy about like the authenticity of the story and stuff. I'm not too familiar on it all, but yeah, you can tell this is just a load of. It is like white savior trash basically. It's shit quality film with shit quality heart. It's got no real voice there or anything. It's just accompanied by this rise of fame story and commercialising the fuck out of it basically and doing nothing interesting. No creativity here, just making money out of a story. I don't know the ins and outs of the controversy, to be honest, but yeah, you can tell it's nothing. It doesn't surprise me that it's controversial is all I'm saying, really. So 1 out of 10 for The Blind Side, and I don't give ones easily, so. Then I watched The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, David Fincher. I've seen a handful of films, but never properly delved into him, and I felt like this was one that I should see, given it's fucking famous as shit. And it's got Brad Pitt and everything. Yeah, it was, and I enjoyed, it was pretty much what I expected it to be. It was well directed, a wholesome sort of story. I already knew the sort of concept of the man aging backwards thing, so it wasn't really too surprising to me. It had its twists and turns and entertained me the whole way through. Like, I wouldn't really say it as a film itself, it's not like a masterpiece, but it's well made, it's a well made story, it's well translated, it's good fun. Because it's just like a sort of good family film, I don't feel there's too many layers to sort of, explore about it, but all I can say is it's competent in every way, really. It does its job well. That's why I gave it a 7 out of 10. It's good fun, but maybe a tiny bit predictable, I will admit. Although the ending did have a good heart to it. But yeah, I feel like the narrative was quite typical though. Then I watched Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, which was it was an interesting sort of time capsule, I thought. It wasn't the best film, it wasn't a very good story, the animation didn't really hold up, but I think it was very interesting, the sort of influence it had, and this kick-started, James Cameron to be like, right, now I can make Avatar, I heard, apparently. So, yeah, there's respect for this film, for sure. I definitely think this paved the way for things like Love, Death and Robots, for example. So there is a lot of respect for it there, like sort of what it did. Yeah, the film itself isn't very good. The story's not good. The acting is weird, especially like with the animation. Like the voice acting isn't great on its own, and then with the animation it just doesn't gel. Nothing feels right. It doesn't feel real at all. It feels even less real than a video game at times, which is quite strange. Like, if you talk about cutscenes in Black Ops or something, it feels less than that at times, Not very well realised, but an interesting sort of achievement for film. Interesting, but not a good film. So 3 out of 10 for Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. I concluded the Ingmar Bergman Faith trilogy. I finished it now. I really do love the Faith trilogy, especially the first two. I won't go into them in detail. Maybe I will in some other context in another video or something, because I might be doing more of these now. The finale, just as a film on its own, I didn't actually like it as much as the others. I did like it. One thing I really loved about the first two was their representation of like different mental health issues or different sort of just very human sort of problems in the world, like depression and mental health and stuff like that. That's the same thing, sorry, but you know what I'm trying to get at. Very authentic sort of representation in his films, and this one did the same. I think it had a very interesting sort of alcoholic sister character, something that felt very you felt like you could really understand her and her ways and things, and same with, yeah, all the motivations felt very there, like, which is what was great about his films. But to me, the central sort of conflict was nowhere near as interesting as the other two. just what they're talking about in general and what they're sort of exploring isn't as... It's not grabbing me the same way the first two did. For example, the one before was about a priest who was losing some faith, and I just think this is such a far more interesting narrative and angle to take than this. But I still like this, and I still think it's a good film, so I do give The Silence a 7 out of 10. I'm not going to bother going into the whole franchise because I'm just trying to do what I did this month. I did go through the This Is England franchise again for the first time in probably 5 years or so. So yeah, this month I did finish the This Is England 88 series, and I got to say, quality stuff. This Is England as a whole, the whole thing is just excellent. I think it does everything right. I think it represents time well as people well. You know, it has a timeless quality to it, the sort of British culture. It's all very relatable, but it also does time, and it does just stories that everyone can relate to. It's just such a great... I think it's just a masterpiece in sort of British film and TV, really. It ticks everything off that British film is sort of respected for. It just amalgamates all those things and makes such an entertaining little... such a short, you know, sort of thing overall. It's a very small sort of film and series product. It's not a massive thing. Excellent, I think. Perfectly done, and that's all I can really say about it. I'll say this now about This Is England 80 and This Is England 90. Both of them just pure excellence. Funny, like super funny, super good drama, super good acting, performances, everything you can wish for in a British sort of thing. This Is England, the best British stuff ever, really. So 10 out of 10 for those. Get that out of the way. A film I watched after that was Dazed and Confused, which I've watched because I'm meaning to read the Matthew McConaughey book. Someone recommended it to me, and also I just like Richard Linklater, you know, as a director. But I enjoyed this, you know. It really did the 70s justice. I think it got that 70s vibe bang on, while sort of, you know, it had a bit of Breakfast Clubby sort of feel in there, but you know, you could feel that it was Richard Linklater. You could get that slacker sort of naturalism in it. So I think, yeah, it got all those components, you know, of a 70s teeny film, and then a bit of modern slacker style for the time it needs. Just a great combination and a well realised film. I think it did the style good and the acting good and everything. Yeah, very good. I don't like it as much as some other Linklater stuff, but damn good job for the concept. You know what I mean? The concept was bang on. Nailed it. So 8 out of 10 for Dazed and Confused. Very early Kubrick, Killer's Kiss. Yeah, I didn't really care for this one much. The filmmaking, you know, compared to Kubrick's later stuff was just nothing impressive, really. Clearly some talent there, but nothing that really kind of made me like, oh wow, that's new, that's fresh, or something. You know, and you know, some of the stuff from the 70s and 60s do that. But this is a 50s one, and yeah, I didn't really think it did much. So I just gave that 4 out of 10. You know, it's fine, but not impressive. It didn't excel in any way. Next I watched Wendy and Lucy. Yeah, that was good. Pretty standard sort of, you know, nothing happens sort of film, I think. It did that sort of nothing happens, focusing a character and other wander around a bit, you know, nomad land, all that sort of stuff. That sort of thing. And it did it well, you know. Just iconic moments, iconic characters, the security guard and stuff. Just generally interesting sort of things going on and conversations being happened and ideas being thrown at you about the system of jobs and homelessness and everything like that. Yeah, very, very good. Very well done. So I gave that a 7 out of 10 for Wendy and Lucy. How High, which I got to say, one of the better sort of stoner comedies. My personal favourite has always been Pineapple Express, but I do think that this does excel above. I don't think it beats Pineapple Express, but it does excel above the other ones. Harold and Kumar and Cheech and Chong, I think it's better than all those ones. It's got a lot of style, like, and energy, you know, the music and all the... Yeah, it's a very well-made stoner film, I think. I think it does everything it needs to. It's funny, and it's random without being, like, too kind of just like, ooh, look, there's a fucking thing there. Like, it's not sort of disrespectfully random. It treats you intelligently, but it's still wacky and fun, and just, yeah, a good time. So I enjoyed How High. Good stoner comedy. 7 out of 10 for that. Next, I watched Paris, Texas, Wim Wenders, obviously, which I've seen some of his films, and I didn't like this one as much as the other two I've seen, which was The American Friend and Wings of Desire. Those are the two I've seen, I believe. Didn't like this one as much as that, actually, even though this is a bigger one. Harry Dean Stanton is a great actor, and there's, you know, great cinematography and general pace and stuff, but yeah, just, to be honest, like, the story itself didn't really grab me as much as, or maybe it was just the way it was told. Didn't really click with the narrative, but the atmosphere was there. I only gave that one a 7, which is still a good rating, but for Vim Vendors, that's my lowest yet. Then I watched a local film, The Fence. I've heard names of people who attach this and stuff amongst circles and things, and I'm obviously trying to get into the scene myself, so it's good to kind of be aware of what's going on around me. This actually had scenes where there was places like round the corner, like just up there from me, and it was just kind of weird watching it and being like, oh whoa, that's bloody the fucking garage up the road. But yeah, anyway, apart from that, the film itself, it didn't really have much different stuff to offer. Like, I felt like it did a bit of the Outlaws from Bristol as well, and it did a bit of maybe the England even, the sort of 80s setting and characters and stuff. Just it did a lot of other films, but not as well. I think it was a good attempt to do sort of better, like a high quality. Like, it was trying to do a high quality film, and I think it was a good attempt at that. But to be honest, there's better options if you want something. Like, if you want something from Bristol, you should watch The Outlaws. If you want something that's like a sort of contemporary 80s coming of age story, then This is England is a better one. There's better options to get that experience. But overall, there was some good acting, some bad acting, some good cinematography, some less good looking cinematography. Just a good attempt. So I respected it. But right in the middle for me, so 5 out of 10 for The Fence. Next I watched Old School, which was not really a big fan of that, a Todd Phillips film. It's basically the Hangover film, but a bit more dated, far less funny, far less interesting characters. Sure, Will Ferrell gave a great performance and stuff. Like, they all did their jobs, but the jokes, I don't think I really laughed that many times. There's a couple moments I chuckled maybe. I did sort of chuckle at first when Vince Vaughn was wearing the fucking clown suit at the kids' party and smoking a cigarette with beer, just looking like a scary clown. Thought it was a good joke, and then they fucking start explaining it. He has a thing where he rants at this guy for not wearing, this guy in the elephant suit for not wearing his helmet, and he's like, oh blah blah blah, you're scaring the kids. And then he's clearly smoking a cigarette with it just ruined the joke. It treated me like a bit of an idiot. I don't think that I respected that. I like comedy to sort of not fucking treat me like I'm 5. I can see what's happening. I can tell if a clown smoking a cigarette is funny without it sort of being explained to me. And that was the main problem with most of this film, really. It was just very explained to me. It was very obvious what was going on the entire time. And so, yeah, it lacked a lot of depth for that reason. So I've given this one a 4 out of 10. Then I rewatched Dark, and oh my god, Dark. Gotta say it now. Aside from Twin Peaks: The Return, best sort of show series to come out in the last decade, definitely. I think 3 seasons, nice and short, nice and concise, a nice sort of tight packaged deal, a bit like This Is England, like I was saying with This Is England, really nice tight packaged, just time travel adventure. Just go in, get lost in that rabbit hole, get lost down that cave, and just fucking have a blast. It's a great show. Amazing performances, music is bloody excellent, fucking cinematography is beautiful. Atmosphere is just, everything about it is spot on, I think. My only gripe of it really is the sound design. I'm not really a huge fan of the that sort of shit. Overall, Dark is just a masterpiece. It's a great, amazingly directed and written and just done. Just a perfect package. Aside from the sound design, it's my only gripe, and it's a tiny little nitpick. But yeah, this is one of the best shows to ever exist. So second to last film I watched was Come On, Come On, which was weird because I just said that I didn't really like the story of Paris, Texas too much, and this was a very similar story. I don't know. It was the energy, it was the sort of, just the nature of it, the way it was realised, the aesthetic of it and the pace and the music with the interviews and stuff really rang its messages a lot more punchier than Paris, Texas did, and for that I enjoyed it more, which is funny because Paris, Texas is considered a classic, and it's just kind of an average film for in terms of the critics and stuff. But I really did like Come On, Come On. I thought it did the adult and kid dynamic very well, even though it's been done so many times. It was just very well done, and it did some new things with it, and some interesting sort of concepts and just human philosophies and themes, thrown in my head, gets you thinking a lot, and very, very entertaining and introspective, I think. So, an 8 out of 10 for Come On, Come On. And the last film I watched was The Flash. It was perfectly fine, but to me, having seen the new Spider-Verse and other things deal with the same story, basically bringing back old characters, even No Way Home, it's basically No Way Home, but for Batman. Not particularly original. It feels just a bit like a rip-off. Even if it did things a bit differently, it wasn't different enough to sort of be right, you're just kind of trying to cash in on the sort of thing. Everything about the film was pretty average, really. But It entertained me, is the thing. It was pretty simple, the time travel and two of them existing and stuff like that. Pretty simple stuff. It entertained me the whole way through. So, for what that's worth, I guess I can't really complain massively. So that's why I gave it 5. You know, it's a bad film, but I wasn't bored. So, right in the middle, I think, is fair enough. And I did enjoy the George Clooney cameo at the end. I did think that was a good, a pretty well done sort of thing that these usually fuck up, you know. So yeah, 5 out of 10 for The Flash. That's it. That's what I finished this month. That's what I watched. I'll be back with some more stuff. I'll do a monthly recap for next month. And I'll probably do some more things too, just talking about other shit, usually film related, maybe some music too. But yeah, cheers for watching if anyone did. I don't really give a shit. I'm doing this just to talk. It's nice to sort of get film thoughts out there, because I don't really, not everyone's seen all this stuff. Obviously, it's random shit. You know, you have to be it's quite a specific sort of variety there. Cheers.